Mary, Queen of Scots, was born on December 8, 1542, in West Lothian, Scotland. Although born into royalty, Mary would live a turbulent life. Her father died just after she was born, and she would leave Scotland at the age of 5 for France, not to return for over a decade. And ultimately, after returning home, her reign as Queen of Scotland would be dominated by her marital life. After having married Lord Darnley, against the wishes of her nobles, her relationship with the Scottish elite would be continuously strained. There were constant schemes, plots of kidnapping, murder, and rebellions that would overwhelm her reign. And after fleeing Scotland in the aftermath of her husband's murder and a successful rebellion by the Scottish lords, Mary would escape to England, hoping to curry favour with Queen Elizabeth instead of France, where she would be more likely to receive support. Unfortunately, this would be a terrible choice for Mary. Fearing that Mary could inspire rebellion among English Catholics, since she was technically next in line to the English throne, Elizabeth would keep Mary under close guard for the next 19 years. Restricted in her movements and communication, she would grow frustrated and desperate for escape. Proud that she was a queen and believing she was being illegally detained, she would soon consent to a plot involving the murder of Elizabeth. And though Mary did not directly contribute to the Babington plot, she was aware of it, and that would be enough to seal her fate. She would be arrested, tried for treason, and executed on February 8, 1587. Now, with that said, here are 10 interesting facts about Mary, Queen of Scots. Fact number 1. When she was an infant, the English fought major battles to force her engagement to the future Edward VI. The Scots would suffer significant losses and, in order to avoid complete domination, promised Mary to the heir of the French throne for protection. Fact number 2. Her husband Francis was also her fourth cousin, and she had to receive the Pope's approval for the marriage to move forward. Family marriages were very common among nobles, and this was seen as a formality. Unfortunately, the future King Francis II was described as fragile, sickly, and immature. Historians have also debated if he even went through puberty before his untimely death. Fact number 3. She brought a corpse to trial. After the Battle of Corrichie, George Gordon's brief rebellion, Gordon would die from apoplexy during the battle. 7 months later, his embalmed corpse was brought to trial for treason in front of Parliament, with Mary presiding. Fact number 4. Her husband, Lord Darnley, had her secretary David Rizzio murdered in front of her while she was pregnant. Scottish nobles had convinced Darnley that Mary was having an affair, and they would have Rizzio stabbed over 50 times while he clung to Mary's skirt. This was part of a grand plan to have Mary imprisoned until she gave birth. And in return for his help, Parliament would give Darnley full authority to act as king. But soon after the murder, Mary would convince her husband that the Scottish nobles would betray the both of them. Worried that his wife was right, he would then help her escape. Fact number 5. She attended a wedding less than a week after her husband Darnley was murdered. Mary and her husband had a very strained marriage after the murder of her secretary, and the marriage was all but over. Fact number 6. Her third marriage was to her husband's primary assassin. The Earl of Bothwell had been one of the chief conspirators to the assassination and supplied the material and men to have the murder committed. Although rumours were abound of his involvement, Mary did not believe them, and their marriage would ultimately prove to be dramatic from start to finish. The Earl would initially kidnap the widowed Mary, ravish her, and at that point Mary would feel obligated to marry him. And though his initial plan was successful, the nobles became jealous of the Earl's sudden rise, and despite signing a letter and telling Mary they supported the marriage, they would soon change their minds and rebel. Fact number 7. All 3 of her husbands had tragic demises. Her first husband, King Francis II of France, died of an infection. Her second husband was murdered, and her third, the 4th Earl of Bothwell James Hepburn, died in prison and was viewed as insane during his final days. Fact number 8. She had agreed to marry for the 4th time to the Duke of Norfolk without ever seeing him. This was during her captivity in England, and Mary would write very affectionate letters to the Duke, as well as send him gifts. Mary likely believed that Norfolk would alleviate her condition and perhaps increase her standing with Queen Elizabeth. Unfortunately, she would be wrong. Fact number 9. She likely suffered from porphyria. Mary would have occasional bouts of paralysis, hysteria, vomiting, and digestive complaints. And during a near-fatal sickness in the 1560s, she was reported to have vomited over 60 times. Towards the end of her life, she could hardly walk. And her father, her son, and even a descendant, George III, have all showed some symptoms of porphyria. Fact number 10. She had a strained relationship with her son, the future James I of England. They shared different religions, and Mary had last seen her son when he was just 10 months old. James had also been brought up being told that his mother married his father's murderer and planned his assassination. And when James agreed to an act of association with England, he did not require that Mary be released from captivity, even though Elizabeth asked him if that was what he wished. He also didn't protest her final arrest and did not make any effective demonstrations against her execution. James was most concerned with establishing himself as the next sovereign of England after Elizabeth's reign. And those are 10 interesting facts about Mary, Queen of Scots. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.